Hi friends, my name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking to Famous People, and I'm also a person who's frequently heard saying things like, I am right and everybody's wrong, and stuff like that, Shit that pisses people off. Anyway, I'd like to discuss today some, I'd like to provide a couple of very concrete examples that will allow us to discuss the necessary kind of thinking that must be in place before somebody can correctly map something. Okay? So the first example should have already been playing now in the background. Should have already started. It's me singing a chicken to sleep. Okay, and as you can probably faintly hear because I've got the audio ducked down, I'm singing the lullaby song, but I've changed the words to bok 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 bok. Right, and sure enough, after 45 seconds or a minute of this, the chicken goes to sleep. Now let's look at this stuff I have here up on the screen, which is this document. Situation 1, man appears to sing a chicken to sleep. What's the NI conclusion? Well, the NI conclusion, whenever you say meow appears to meow, is it's going to be what it appears to do, things are what they appear to be. So in this instance, it would be that the man has caused the chicken to sleep by singing to it. A TE analysis of the thing would say, well, the correlation here is extremely strong. It's 1. It's as strong as it can possibly be. Thus far, at least, empirics support the NI conclusion the man has sung the chicken to sleep. A TI analysis, or at least a TI-NE analysis, will say, all right, well, let's evaluate how we're thinking about this first. So, in the straightforward analysis, we're talking about I, the observer, watching Eric, the singer, be the subject, and who's acting upon the object that's the chicken, okay? And in that frame of reference, it would appear that he has sung this chicken to sleep. However, if as the viewer you think, there's me, the viewer, who's an agent, observing Eric, who's also an agent, who has observations he's not projecting out onto the world for us to see. In other words, he's not just a subject. Not everything he's done here is made public. Only the 1 minute of him singing this chicken to sleep is made public, right? So we need to remember that he has knowledge that we don't have. He's an agent as well. So you see here it says agent, then subject, object. Same 3 parties involved. Presumably the viewer is somebody other than me, right? And the TI analysis says empirics exclude relevant data. It's probably a trick. And of course, it is a trick in the sense that I didn't really think it was going to trick people or anything, but I assumed people would get the basic joke, which is that I waited for the chicken to be almost asleep before I started singing that song. My starting to sing that song kind of woke the chicken up a bit, and by the time it got used to me singing it, it fallen back asleep. My singing did not cause it to go to sleep. If anything, my singing kept it awake. So the point is, if you look at it from enough of a width on frame angles, then of course it becomes obvious that no, Eric doesn't have the magical power to sing chickens to sleep. Situation 2. Here's a brain teaser for you. This is something that Rachel and I found ourselves asking the other day, just out of curiosity. I don't remember what it was that caused the question. I think we were eating something that was cold and it tasted like it needed more salt. And it was, I wonder why food needs more salt when it's cold. Rachel produced the possible NI conclusion. Perhaps heating brings salt out from the food, from inside the food. So, first of all, I'd like to say there's many ways of framing that question that are going to suggest different kinds of answers, right? Why does food need more salt when cold? Why does food taste less salty when cold? Why do people put more salt on cold food? Why does well-salted chicken always taste like it needs more salt when you eat it the next day cold from the fridge? These are different ways of framing the same kinds of question, right? But they all put the onus on the food. Each way that I'm framing this question here puts the onus on the food. It says something's different about the food when it's cold than when it's hot, okay? Which suggests a certain kind of response. So when Rachel said, well, maybe the heating brings out the salt from the food, my question, being an NETI person, was, well, where does the salt go when the food cools then? a TI analysis of the NI conclusion would have said, well, we need to test more to determine if it's correct. That's the response I got from the rational typology guy when I talked to him. Takeaways. There are corollaries in typing, obviously. So if I send you a video, if I send a link to you with a video of me singing that chicken to sleep and ask you, what type is this guy, do you think? And that's the only evidence you got to go on. And you're saying things like, well, he obviously loves animals, so he must be an ISFJ. Or, well, he's really into, like, he's just doing the sensory thing. He's just singing the chicken to sleep. He's excluding all the words, so he must be an ISFP. Or if you say anything of the sort, any kind of conclusion about the person making that video, maybe but this person's obviously very susceptible to magical thinking. He thinks he can sing a chicken to sleep. In any instance, what's happening there is you're failing to account for a necessary frame of reference. In other words, people aren't simply as they behave as subjects, they are additionally agents. To understand what that video means, you have to access their agency. You have to treat them as objects by asking them questions that require them to reveal some aspects of their agency that might not otherwise be revealed. There's no other way to successfully type people. So if you're talking about a typologist who's saying, I can type people, you send me a video answering these questions and I can type you, they're completely full of shit. You need to have some kind of interactive push and pull going on in order to try to successfully eliminate certain things and determine certain things for sure. You've got to find something that's ungameable that you can check on, that's determinate. And you have to distinguish between answers and responses and results that are determinate and those that are suggestive. And how suggestive something gets before it gets determinate should be something you have a good sense of a criterion for. So, in other words, the takeaways are mapping skills are the same as frame walking skills. If you're not ultra capable with language of walking between and through these various frames of reference that I've articulated here, you're not qualified to map cognitive functions. The only types who really are NTPs. And among NTPs, it so happens that I'm uniquely well qualified. That's irrelevant to the fact that it's important to have a map made by somebody who's accounted for all this shit, right? And so if you're talking about somebody's explanations and they're not, and they think I sung a chicken to sleep, they're not qualified to do the job of explaining cognitive functions to anybody. That's the takeaway here. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.